And with me, as always, is Trey.
Yes, this is Trey. We are back with another edition of the West Coast Podcast. Definitely kind of a weird podcast, weird community. We are going 2 weeks in a row this time after Shane has came down with an illness. So we're doing this stream back to back weekends now. However, from starting now, we will only be doing this podcast once every other Friday. So next Friday we will not do a podcast, and then the next Friday afterwards we will be live for another edition of the West Coast Podcast. So definitely a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff to get into. I always like to come on here, I have a few things up my sleeves for this podcast. I try to get Shane to get some guests on the show because he's like the plug into that world, but as of right now, he has failed to come through. So Shane, all jokes aside, how have you been doing? And tell us about the tournament that you went through today.
Big fat W by me. Psych. No, big fat L by me. I'm trying to get people on, but I can't get them on. Shout out, what's up, Rose? I see you in here. She's back in the building like always. Um, no, it was really cool. So I was in the Mutthead tournament. Shout out to Rose for being in there on Twitch. I was on Twitch. I battled a guy that runs Huddle.gg, Ant Cap. It was a really good game. I made like a mistake, probably one or two mistakes, and I ended up losing. But it was a close game. I feel like it was a pretty darn good game, and I really enjoy being in the competitive scene. Like it's really fun to do, really fun to have. Hopefully, I can continue to get back where I was pre toddler. Hopefully, we'll see how that works. But it definitely is probably the first year since I had the second child where I've been playing a lot and streaming a lot and trying to do competitive. It feels like I told you this before, Trey. It feels like Madden 15, where I took some lumps and bruises, and then Madden 16 I sailed through and was like really, really, really elite. So hopefully that happens for this Madden 25 coming up. But how have you been, Trey?
I've been hanging in there. Um, just doing my thing, just keep grinding. I got the Madden Redemption series on my YouTube channel. You can check it out. It's Trey's Raw started that about 3 weeks ago, and the basis of that series is I take a NFL player who's had a pretty rough year. So this season I'm using Derrick Henry to start the season, and yeah, it's got a little bit of a funky twist to it. So I do like rewards based. So say if Derrick Henry gets a 100-yard gain, I go into his stats and I upgrade. So a little bit of an unrealistic terms of things. I feel like a lot of YouTube videos center around rebuilds that are realistic, but trying to do it with a little bit of a funky turn. So that's what I've been getting into recently. So yeah, Shane's talking about how he hopes to get back to his previous glory, pre-toddler, and he wasn't referring to the fact that he has a toddler. He's saying that his most prime years of playing Madden was actually before he was a toddler. He was in the womb playing Madden, and that was his greatest achievement in Madden. Even better than Madden 15 or 16. So, my question, Shane, is how are you able to play Madden before you were even born in that way? And then, what are is there any upcoming tournaments that you have planned so far?
So I was practicing in the womb, Trey, with like these I just had two thumbs. That's it. I had two thumbs, nothing else, right? Just like, and I was just going at it, like using my belly, like I was playing Madden. So that's how I got good. No, on a serious note, there is no future Madden tournaments right now, but if there is one, I definitely will update everybody and let you guys know. I'll either let you guys know on the community, on the YouTube channel, or when I'm streaming, I'll let them know. For some reason, Mutthead makes me do it on Twitch, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But other than that, so far, no. So far, I don't have any future tournaments coming up, but the small ones that I've been doing, trying to make a little bit of money off of the PSN.
Yeah, no, I got you. So yeah, Mudhead does the Twitch thing, and Shane obviously he created his whole identity, his whole fan base on YouTube, and hopefully he gets to the point where he's big enough on YouTube to where he can accumulate a healthy, a more healthy sized audience, so that he might be able to do Twitch more frequently, because there's other YouTube channels that are able to do the transition from YouTube and Twitch and able to do both because of they have a sizable audience. So we're not there yet, but we're definitely aiming to get there at one point. So look out for that. So Shane, what we had a big news of free agency going on. I want to get your takes on Russell Wilson going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and also you guys have had Sam Howell from the Washington Commanders come join the team, and I saw that Geno Smith, I didn't see what he said, but he did respond. So what was Geno's response, and what do you think about Sam Howell coming into the Seattle? So.
So it's funny, Trey. So Russell Wilson going to Pittsburgh, I think it really is just kind of hilarious. Unless he's just shot, right? Unless Russell Wilson's shot and he's completely done, I really think that he will do very well in Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is the equivalent of the Seattle Seahawks. Mike Tomlin's very similar to Pete Carroll in the sense of pound the rock, play really good defense, and then set it up to take some deep shots. And Russell Wilson's always been known to have a good deep ball. And so, unless he's completely shot, I really think you're going to see him shine for the next couple of years there, because I do think that it's a 1 year contract, but I think he will do good next year unless he's shot. And then they'll give him like probably a 2 year contract. The Seahawks, I'm not upset about getting Sam Howell. I'm really not. I think that they're going to have him sit behind Geno probably this year, and then maybe either try to become the starter next year, or they draft another QB and it's battle out for the two rookies. I think Geno's time is probably done in Seattle in the next year or two. I also like that the Seahawks got that linebacker from Buffalo. I think he was rated number one. I can't remember his name right now. It's been a long day and night. But he was rated number one. That was a really good get. And then they got Jenkins, I believe, from the Jaguars. And then they re-signed Leonard Williams. They are short on a couple linebackers with Bobby Wagner gone, which I mean he's a little slow on defense in the pass part, run part. He was still good, but I'm not mad about that. Sometimes you just got to let it be and let it all go. Um, but other than that, like I'm actually kind of impressed with how they're building up their team again.
Yeah, for sure. So there actually is one signing. You guys actually got a guy from my team that goes by the name of Pharaoh Brown. He played tight end for us last year, and I think before that he was with the Houston Texans. But he really kind of had a good season with us. I think he got a few touchdowns, couple big plays. So hopefully he's able to come into Seattle and get some good tight end play. Did want to touch on the Mac Jones trade. Mac Jones returns home to his hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, to play with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And As a Patriots fan, I think that it was probably the best thing for both parties. I think that the relationship between Mac Jones and the Patriots was beyond salvageable, and there was reports that Bill Belichick, after the Week 12 game in Germany, wouldn't even talk to Mac Jones, and the quarterback room was so toxic. This is all reports, so don't come at me sideways here. There was reports that the quarterback room was so toxic that Bailey Zappi opted to watch film in the receiver room instead of the quarterback room. So I'm happy that Mac Jones is going to play for Jacksonville. Now it's interesting with Trevor Lawrence because I wouldn't say that Trevor Lawrence is a bust, but I don't really think there's a whole lot, separating Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones. I think that Trevor Lawrence has benefited from playing in a relatively weak division, whereas, the years that Mac Jones played for New England, he had to go against the likes of the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. The South has just now been getting a little bit more competitive with the rise of C.J. Stroud and the Houston Texans. So that's my thought. I'm happy for Mac Jones to go back, and I think that he could honestly have a chance to compete for the starting job in Jacksonville. So Shane, there is one other free agent signing I wanted to. You could also talk about the Mac Jones trade if you have anything to say on that. But so you also had Kirk Cousins going to the Atlanta Falcons. And I believe, let me look at my notes here. And also Desmond Ridder to your division of the Arizona Cardinals. So what's your whole take on that?
It has been a wild free agency for sure. Like, it is going a little bit wild. It's going a little bit crazy. I do think Mac Jones probably needed a whole reset, to be fair. It's probably better for himself, better for his psyche. I do think Kirk Cousins will do good in Atlanta. I think that he's going to do pretty good. Like, if he can stay injury free, he'll be pretty good. And I did forget about Farrell Brown. Um, he, I mean, from all I've heard is really good reports. He's a really good run blocker and a good pass blocker, make some good catches. So, I mean, that's really money. Let's see, what else is there? Ritter didn't even get a chance. That's so wild. Like, I'm still amazed that they give up on QBs after a couple of years. I mean, I know. Okay, you're an old head. Okay, I understand. But I mean, they still give up on them. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Like, okay, so I draft Rose or Trey to be my QB, and they're supposed to be really, really good coming out of college. Why wouldn't you give like 3 years so they could get like really good or see what you have? Give them 3, 4 years. Why I don't understand this whole. I, I'm gonna give up on them. I want to get rid of them. Whoop de whoop and all this shit. Like language, Shane. Dang, I apologize. I just don't understand it, and I'm being serious. Like, I don't understand what we're doing. I don't understand why people give up on players so quick. So for me, I don't. I mean, maybe you guys can answer it. Rose, you can comment. Trey, comment. Do you agree or disagree with people giving up on their QB within 2 3 years now?
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good question. I mean, I could see both sides of the argument. So you have the argument of, you get put in a situation that's not ideal. And, the second option is that, I mean, if you look at the quarterback market, this is probably, and this might be a hot take, but I honestly think the quarterback market right now is probably like the most terrible it's been in a while. But on the flip side, if you're paying someone to come in and be essentially the franchise of your guy. Now, I will say to your point, Shane, the whole Caleb Williams and Justin Fields, for the life of me, I don't understand why. I mean, I know Caleb Williams is talented. I'm not like one of those people say, oh well, he cried, so so he's not a number one draft pick. But even just for a purely football related reason, I mean, you have a guy, you win 7 games, and maybe you're seeing something from Justin Fields that it left too many questions, but you have an opportunity to accumulate more draft picks or draft Marvin Harrison and make a run. You got DJ Moore, who's a good receiver, and Colt Kmet, a decent tight end. So I don't understand that from that aspect, but yeah, no. To your question, I don't really understand or have a strong opinion either way on why quarterbacks should um, why they're giving up on quarterbacks. I just think that there should just be no excuses. Like, yeah, you could come in and say Mac Jones, he's had 3 offensive coordinators, I guess 4 now. Now he's with Jacksonville, so it's definitely not an ideal situation. But at the end of the day, you just gotta go out there and compete. Just you know, you're getting paid this amount of money, just go out there and find a way to get it done, I guess is what I feel on that. So, what 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 is your thoughts on the draft? Do you think that Caleb Williams, because the way that he's talking right now, he's definitely, do you feel like it's confident or cocky at this point?
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to answer what Rose said. She said to disagree because this is an instant gratification society. They want to win now, and nobody's willing to sit and be patient. And the coordinator switching teams so much right now, it's hard for QBs to build consistency when every 3 seasons they're learning a new play style and sequence. If you look at how teams like Chiefs sit in Mahomes behind Alex Smith, Packers love behind Rodgers, they had success, so no excuse. So I do agree on the main part about like um, the what she said in a sense. But for me, it's like here's the thing: Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre for I believe 3 seasons or 4 seasons, and he learned from Favre. He learned how to be a gunslinger, but at the same time, he learned how to keep the ball better than Favre. He learned that Favre's downside was throwing too many picks by throwing it into traffic more so. So Rodgers learned to be gunslinger mentality, but taking care of the rock at the same time. So, well, he would have been Hall of Fame regardless. But let's say they throw him out the first year, right? Nowadays, and he struggles. Then he gets benched. Because you know how some teams have benched their first year starter. And then all of a sudden he loses all confidence and he's not the Aaron Rodgers that we know. Maybe he's still going to go and be Hall of Fame. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe that was just pre written and whatever you want to believe in. But I do think that they ruin a lot of people's confidence. That's how I feel. I believe they ruin a lot of people's confidence. And then it's in their brain. Like, yes, you can't wait around forever, but the instant gratification is true. Like everybody wants instant gratification now. Maybe some QBs wouldn't have worked out. Maybe they would have. The whole drafting for me is my whole thing with the whole draft is like with Caleb. I think young kids, and I'm saying young kids between the ages of 16 and 22. That's young to me. Okay, it is. I think that they. I think that they have more say in what goes on now. Like if you like for like Trey, you probably don't know this, or maybe you do. I'm not calling you out on this, but in the 90s, like there was a Fab Five team in college basketball. It was the Michigan Fab Five. For anybody who's never seen the documentary, go see it. It's one of the most amazing documentaries ESPN's ever done. They literally were scrapping as college students to eat and have fun. But the Michigan Athletics, Michigan University, was raking in millions of dollars from, excuse me, the black socks, the saggy shorts, and they weren't getting a piece of the pie at all. Now people are like, yeah, but they got a college degree off of playing sports. Okay, I understand it. I'm a little bit in between because like I think it is too one sided now, like with the NIL. If I'm rich, right? If I'm rich and I want Gonzaga men's basketball to be rich, I can offer the top recruits $5 million each, and they're gonna come here. So I mean, they gotta play. I think they still should have like a. I think we've had this conversation before. I think they need to have like a monthly stipend or something like that. So for me, um, I just think the kids nowadays have more say, and it might not be as good as people think. It might not be as good as people want it to be. It might make it go full circle where now it'll change in the future where they take things back. Rose said, "Yeah, I'm not saying there aren't guys talented enough to start right away. I mean, hell, Peyton Manning did it, John Elway did, Marino did. Are we gonna say that if you start they can't be winners?" And well, as for much as these new QBs make, no wonder they ask them what they want or do much intake on the team. You have to keep them happy or they don't play. I do agree on the old guys about playing yada yada. Um, Here's where I'm gonna be though. Here's where I'm at, Rose, and here's where I'm at, Trey. So she brought up Peyton Manning and John Elway. If I recall, Peyton Manning was awful. I mean awful. I believe he was awful his first year. And who says nowadays he wouldn't get have gotten benched? And that benching might have ruined him. I'm not so sure about Elway and Dan Marino their first year or two, so I'm not going to comment on something that I can't remember right now. But I'm pretty sure Peyton Manning was awful. Okay, Rose verified it. Rookie interception record holder. And that's my point. Like, what about nowadays if they would have benched him? You see what I'm saying? And you never would have had Peyton Manning be a Hall of Famer. And yes, maybe he would have gotten benched and been even better or been the same way. I'm just saying that, like, I don't believe that in the first few years you're going to know if they're a superstar enough unless they're just so bad that you're like, wow. Like, if they're like 7 touchdowns, 30 picks, year two, 7 touchdowns, 30 picks, then, I mean, then okay, then that's where you get. But if you're like 15 and 10, 17 and 8, and then 17 and 8, see what year 4 has, and then you can go from there. And yeah, Rose, Peyton would be pissed about it. He said no one will break it because if you're that bad, you don't stay starting. And that's true. It's instant gratification community. This whole world's become instant gratification. Some for the good, some for the bad. But that's where I'm at, Trey.
Yeah, no question. You know, the whole NIL deal, and I mean, you were talking about the Fab Five and all of that, but another documentary that kind of goes into this a little bit is actually the Johnny Manziel documentary. And I don't care who you are or what you think of him, but the fact that the college sold blank T-shirts and Johnny Manziel got in trouble because he was like trying to make money from autographs, like that's just insane to me. Um, yeah, I think that my only thing with that is like I feel like you open up Pandora's box. You know, when you come up with this NIL deals and people making money. I mean, we're seeing kind of ripple effects of that now with Nick Saban, who has made an ungodly amount of money with the old system that was clearly broken off of the backs of college athletics. But yeah. So, and I can tell you just going forward to the quarterback situation you were talking about. In 2021, Mac's rookie season, the people of Boston media, the New England Patriots, they loved Mac Jones. Like, it was insane to see the amount of love that he got. And, you got to think, these people, I'm including myself, these Patriots fans are used to seeing Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. You know, you had the Cam Newton year and the COVID year, and now Mac Jones comes in, and I feel like he was liked early on, but I mean, and I feel like I kind of had a bit of a longer leash on him than most people. I can honestly tell you the time where I was like, okay, I'm done. Is the You might be able to find it on YouTube, but it was a game against the Saints this year. Already had like just friggin' terrible interceptions, and then he throws this god awful interception to the Saints. That was the one moment I'm literally just sitting here being like, okay, I've seen enough. Get him out of here. And I guess that's a question for you, Shane. Being a Seattle Seahawks fan, have you ever had a moment like that where you see a guy, you're trying to support him, you like his play, but there's one moment, one play that you saw where you're like, okay, this is it, I've seen enough, or not really?
I've definitely gone through it where I've thought a player might be really good and he struggled, and I've been like, yeah, it's not working out. He's not good enough. Like, it's time to move on. But, like, I mean, I'm not as quick to pull the trigger for the good and for the bad. I mean, we had podcasts where everybody had Lamar Jackson as a GOAT. If you remember, Lamar Jackson's the GOAT. He's going to be the best QB of all time. And I was like, he's got to do it for years before I even consider him in the conversation. And you and I went over that, and people now have turned on him and said that he's not that great. He's more of a running QB. He's a runner. He's not a real QB. So then they flip. They flip. They go from one end of the spectrum to the not. First he was a GOAT, and now he's a bum to people. But he's not a bum. He's good. He's just not great. And sometimes you don't always have to be great. Okay, you can be good and still get the job done. For me, I was on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and I remember who it was. It was a pro athlete, and I want to say it was a baseball player, maybe Mike Cameron, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was a football player. And here's what they said, and because I remember what they said, and they sorry, I was reading what Rose said. Rose said, I'll say what Rose said after I finish this. Basically, Trey, they were saying that with nowadays kids and nowadays instant gratification, just basically what we're talking about right now, you either are the GOAT or you either suck. There's no in between. There's no um there's no he's a good player or he's really good. It's either he's the best of all time or he's garbage and nobody wants him. And that's true because look at what people say. Look what happened to Lamar Jackson, for example. You could go for other people like that. Rose said, "Well, don't listen to bandwagon fan like Flight Reacts. He called Mac Jones the worst QB in NFL all time. He didn't deserve a contract. There was Jamarcus Russell. There was Ryan Leaf. Mac Jones has been more successful than both of the guys and many others." Well, fully agree. Fully agree with you on that. Funny story is Ryan Leaf came out at WSU. He was like a god down at WSU. One of my buddies was in WSU when Ryan Leaf was playing at WSU, and it was like the second coming of God. It was like the second coming. I mean, he was that good. Um, wow. Okay, I'm gonna say something because I'm also watching this basketball game at the same time doing the podcast, and there's a huge. Okay, wow. So basically, Ryan Leaf had too big of a head. He had too big of a head, Trey, and basically he might have benefited from sitting a couple years and learning. It would have humbled him, and he would have learned from it. What happened was he was thrown into the fire. He was compared to Peyton Manning, and he had the ego and the attitude, and it made him go downhill from there. So for me, I mean, who is the worst QB of all time? I'm not sure. I mean, there's probably worse QBs from the 40s and 50s, and even Jamarcus Russell or Ryan Leaf, or maybe they are. But like, here's the thing. So I'm calling Jamarcus Russell a bum, right? Not me per se, but a lot of people are calling Jamarcus Russell a bum. But he's better than I ever was, right? He's better than I ever was. Even being a bum that made the NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball, they're more successful than me. They're more successful than a lot of people out there. But I mean, I fully agree with the sports athletes. That's the guy that said nowadays you're either the goat or you're trash. There's no in between. But no, sorry, I'm on our podcast. I'm listening. I'm talking, and this game ended. Went from OT, and the coach almost got in a fist fight with the other coach, and then started giving the peace sign to the other coach, waving him off the court. It was one of the wildest things I've ever seen. But yeah, Trey. So for me, it's I don't know. You can be very good. You don't have to always be great. You know what I mean? That's where I guess I'm rambling on, but that's where I'm at on it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. We got a little bit of this might be a first time podcast where we actually had some breaking news hit the West Coast podcast. A head coach almost got into a fist fight and threw up a peace sign. So he went from being violent to being peaceful in a matter of 2 seconds. I wonder if there was a Bob Marley song that played in the background that that made him change his ways. But no, and like I mean, the thing with Ryan Leaf is interesting because the thing is like, and you said you had a cousin or a friend or whatever that knew him. I might have misheard that portion, but the thing that I've seen about Ryan Leaf is that he grew up in a town and he was treated way differently because he was able to play football. So essentially, like no one told him no. Basically, it was everything he wanted to do or get. He would be offered, and no one would tell him no because he was able to, play football. And those people definitely deserve some of the blame. In essence, and shout out to Ryan Leaf because I think that the Ryan Leaf story that even though his NFL career he's like the flagship of being the NFL bust, right? But he was able to kind of turn his life around and really face adversity and overcome it. So definitely give props to Ryan Leaf on that. And yeah, it was funny watching the Rose was talking about the Flight Reacts thing, which is kind of funny. I did see that video, but he did have that same thought on Cam Newton. If you were to go back and listen to it, he was calling Cam Newton trash and all this. But I will say it was kind of harsh because even when Cam Newton got cut and Flight made the same exact video, he was way nicer to Cam Newton than Mac Jones, which I guess Cam Newton was an MVP, but it is what it is. what else? What else were we talking about during that time that we wanted to touch on? We talked about the Ryan Leaf and let me go up. Oh yeah, so my vote for the worst quarterback of all time is going to be Nathan Peterman. That's who I have voted for the worst quarterback of the year, or of all time rather, that I've ever seen. And so yeah, so I guess to bring this full circle, Shane, are you liking, like, I know we're still early into the off season, but how would you rank the Seattle Seahawks off-season moves? Did they re-sign anybody? Did they release anybody that was significant? And how would you rate their off-season so far?
I was a little surprised they released Quandre Diggs. I mean, he must not be who they wanted with the new coach, all that stuff. Um, I actually and they released Jamal Adams, which I mean that's just a cap hit, and he just wasn't gonna be. He just wasn't the man. Okay, he wasn't gonna be the man anymore. And so for me, it was like it sucks because I actually like Jamal. I know people wanted to like hate on him and all that, but you know, it is what it is with me for him. I actually give them like I actually give them like a B plus for me. Like I think they
All
did
right, so
a good
Shane's
job.
got this. Yeah. So Shane has a B plus for the Seattle Seahawks so far, and we'll definitely be keep track on the free agency. Definitely a crazy. The other one that was kind of big that I'm kind of pissed that the Patriots weren't able to pull in is Calvin Ridley. And I think Calvin Ridley went to the Titans. I'm pretty sure it was the Titans that Calvin Ridley signed with. But yeah, I was pretty upset we weren't able to land him. We were able to re-sign Mike Onwenu at guard. Definitely one of the highest ranking guards, so that was good that we were able to re-sign him. And we got Kendrick Bourne at wide receiver, so a little bit of a depth piece here. And also Jacoby Brissett coming back to the Patriots. Don't know if he's going to play because it's pretty much determined we're going to be taking a receiver or a quarterback at number 3 overall. So maybe Brissett will come in, and if the rookie quarterback isn't ready, he'll come in, play a few games or what, but definitely a solid piece. Jacoby had a pretty good performance last year, so we'll see what happens there. And also another thing I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about quarterbacks and all of that, but Kyler Murray, that's a name that I've been heard around Patriots fans as a potential aspect. And am I missing something with that dude? Because to me, he is like terrible. Like the reason why someone would want to take Kyler Murray is beyond me. But since you get to play him twice a year, what? Like, am I wrong in thinking that? Like, what's your thoughts on Kyler? What?
For me, he was like a poor man's version of Russell Wilson. Even smaller, even tinier. And I felt like when his legs went or they learned how to contain his running, I wasn't going to be that impressed. And that's where I'm at right now. I kind of agree. He's just whatever to me.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So yeah. So we got all that being said. So Shane, have you heard any rumblings about anything coming up in the future. We do have the college football video games that's set to be released this summer, and it's going to be pretty interesting if, in fact, they do release the college football game. So I don't know if Shane, because I know Shane, you have played. You were telling me you were playing NCAA back in the day, so you do remember how it was like. Or I don't know if you were playing Madden back then. It might have just been the one game, but it used to be, you had the college video game come out, sometime in June, and then you had Madden to, follow up a few months later. So, what do you think, especially, in nowadays competitive circuit, do you think that it'll be beneficial for if you're a competitive guy to play the new college football video game, and because it's probably going to be the same thing as the Madden game, so it's going to be interesting to see how that is going to correlate to Madden. So, what's your thoughts on that?
I'm like, okay, so here's where I'm on this, Trey. So literally, this is where I'm at. This is where I feel everything, and really, 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 really think that it's not going to change and it's going to be the same. Look, I loved college football video games way more than Madden. But there wasn't a market, right? So like when I was like, I need to make money, um, Madden was it, and I'm like, I was always been pretty good at video games, right? Always been pretty good at video games. So I'm like, let me get this, let me do this. I really think with the new college football game, everybody's excited. But I think if they try to be competitive like Madden, where like, okay, you're a fan of WSU or you're a fan of Florida or whatever, and they do clubs for like college football, it's gonna turn into the same damn thing. People are gonna complain, people are gonna cry, people are gonna get upset, and people are gonna be like, yeah, but you don't have to buy players. Trust me, there will be a way that they make you spend money on that college football game. If you run dynasties, they'll probably do like, hey, spend $20 and you get a 5-star recruit. Something dumb like that. Like, don't get it twisted. It's going to turn out the same way. If you can make money off of college football, you're going to get a bunch of competitive players that ruin college football, like the competitive scene ruined Madden. I'm going to stick by it. You can quote me on this. You can copy and paste this. You can clip the link right now of this podcast. I'm telling you that college football is going to be just like how Madden is if there is a competitive scene. Kind of like Major League Baseball, the game. They're already talking about doing clubs and competitive tournaments. Well, if they do that, it's going to make it a lot like in Madden. I already heard that they're doing that on baseball. So for college football, I don't know how they do it per se on, well, you're Trey, you're WSU, I'm WSU, we're in the same club, we're trying to make it. How do they make you spend money? Do you have to spend money $20 so you get extra training, or do they do a whole football season where it's like 16 games, best record you get in, yada yada, and then they do each season? You know what I mean? Where they have like a 4 season. Who knows? But I am gonna stick with they're gonna make it as bad as Madden if they make it competitive.
All right, yeah, I got you on that. Yeah, I feel the same way, and I mean, it's gonna be hilarious. Like, if they do come out with this college football game and they try to do clubs, like, can you imagine, like, it's already egregious now, and I mean, granted, a lot of the people that are in Madden now are younger guys, but trying to say, hey, college kids, I know you can barely afford ramen noodle soups, but come spend $500 a month, and have a chance to win whatever it is, 80,000. It's going to be even worse than MCS probably, the payout. So it would be pretty hilarious if they did something like that to where they literally aren't able to pay it, but they'll probably still try it anyway because it is EA Sports. So, I guess, so we got the college football game. I guess going forward into Madden, I feel like there really hasn't been any patches so far. We're getting towards the end with obviously college football and Madden 25. Yes, it's Madden 25, even though there actually is already a Madden 25 out there, but they're not going to change the names from what I'm seeing. So, do you think that that's it as far as patches, unless something breaks down?
I think there's going to be one or two more. I think there's going to be one or two more, and I think it's going to do what the guy said and what they kind of been doing. I think they're going to throw out a patch randomly in May or June where it's like the game's kind of changed it up and you're confused. And I think that they're going to see at this patch what it does makes it for Madden 25, if you know what I mean. Because I was told that basically spring and summer patches usually are for like future Madden games to see if they like it or don't like it or the feedback from the community. And I think we'll see that again in the summer.
Alright, for sure. And I'm actually going to backtrack a little bit because I was trying to figure out what you said when you were talking, and I figured it out now, but you were kind of talking about the whole, it's what instant gratification, the recency bias, and, they really did this to Bill Belichick. Like, they dropped this new documentary, The Dynasty, on Apple TV that I've been watching. And, to be fair, the last two episodes released today, and I think they depicted Bill Belichick in a correct manner. But if you were to watch this documentary and not really know, much about it, you would have thought that, Bill Belichick was evil. He was always holding Tom Brady down, even though he was the one that drafted him. Even though after 2003, Peyton Manning and other quarterbacks were complaining that their receivers were getting held at the line of scrimmage because of Bill Belichick and they had to change the rules. They'll disregard the fact that in the playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens that he implemented a package on offense, the whole ineligible and eligible receivers. So that's kind of a side rap just because I saw you brought it up. But yeah, Bill Belichick certainly isn't the only person to have the whole recency bias, to fall victim to the recency bias. But, to me it hurts because you always hear this narrative like, oh, Tom Brady, if it wasn't for Bill's nothing without Tom Brady, but they won't go back and see all the things that I've just touched on. So, wanted to talk about that. So, alright, we are in this point of the podcast where we're going to be doing something that I have up my sleeve. Last week's podcast, we did a tier list of abilities. So for this week, it's going to be a tier list of MUT players. So Shane, this is how it's going to work. So instead of last time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you 5 players, right? I'm going to give you 5 players, and just give me, from, you don't even have to say like worst to best, just say, okay, this guy, I like him, this guy's the best, this guy sucks, whatever. So 5 players, and just give me your description of them, how they played for you, etc. Okay, so we have the quarterbacks first. So we have Patrick Mahomes, Doug Williams, Joe Montana, Otto Graham, and Anthony Richardson.
And we're talking about this year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and if I have someone, I tried to look back on your old channel to see, the players that you played with, and I think I got a majority of the people that you actually played with, but if I say someone and you haven't really played with them or etc., just say I don't know, I haven't played with them, so yeah.
Okay, so for me, Patrick Mahomes is pretty good, but honestly, Doug Williams, if he had the AP bucket, whatever it's called, bucket that Patrick Mahomes does, he'd be better. I like Doug Williams' game way better. Um, I also I liked Otto Graham as well. You said I had Anthony Richardson. I mean, I don't really remember much of him, so he must not have done good enough for me, or he is too expensive. But my favorite QB this year to use was Doug Williams.
All right, perfect. Next up is the running backs. We have Gale Sayers, Adrian Peterson, Marshall Falk, Alvin Kamara, and Bo Jackson. This is just for this year again.
Oh, Bo Jackson and Gale Sayers are 1 and 2 for sure. They're like Gale Sayers is really fun to use. Bo Jackson, not I'm gonna sound like a little kid, but when you get that nasty bow streak or whatever it's called running, you feel like you can pick up the world in your hands, man. So Bo Jackson and Gale Sayers are by far the top two I've used. Marshall Falk was really good too. I really liked Marshall Falk. Kamara was meh to me. So like for me, it would be Bo Jackson, Gale Sayers, and then oh man, I'm Marshall Falk.
Oh wow, so Shane, and it was funny because I put Adrian Peterson on here to kind of troll him because Adrian Peterson cost him a game with a fumble. So Shane heard Adrian Peterson, and he was like, "Who the fuck is that?" Oh, sorry. Who the frick is that guy? I don't even know him. Didn't even hear his
Facts.
name. Okay, I see you. Okay,
Facts.
okay. Moving on to wide receivers. We have Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, and Jamar Chase.
Calvin Johnson's by far number one. I mean, Calvin Johnson is a goon. Like he's really good. Number two is Jerry Rice. I think you said Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson was really nice. I don't like Tyreek Hill at all. I did not like Tyreek Hill at all, and I can't remember who you said the other one is. So he did not leave a lasting memory on it.
Okay, I said Jamar Chase, so.
Jamar Chase is like Tyreek Hill. Yawn. Move on.
All right.
Calvin Johnson was the best by far.
All right, so moving on to the defensive linemen slash pass rushers. We got Bruce Smith, Michael Strahan, George Kalafdis, Aaron Donald, and Max Crosby.
Aaron Donald's by far the best one I've had. Um, George, whatever, George Costanza from Seinfeld. No, George Kalofs. I don't know how to say the guy's name. He's pretty good though. He's pretty good. Michael Strahan was pretty good, but honestly, Max Crosby was like just whatever for me. So for out of that five, Aaron Donald is number one.
All right, moving on to the secondary. We have Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, Cam Chancellor, King Ramses, aka Jalen Ramsey, and Julius Peppers.
I got to go with Ed Reed as number one. Like he played my cover three scheme perfectly. I loved him. He was really nice. Like I mean, he was my one of my favorites to use. Julius Peppers was probably number two because he's 42 feet tall, so he was a little bit of a glitch. Troy Polamalu was pretty good too. Kind of got mossed once in a while, so it wasn't my my favorite to user. Jalen Ramsey. I mean, he didn't make a mark for me at all. And who was the other one, Trey?
Oh, I think Cam Chancellor is the only one I don't think you touched on. Okay.
Oh, okay. Cam Chancellor. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. I still think he's a little bit overrated for 2 million coins. But and now I'm talking about when I bought him. Like he obviously gone down now, but he's overrated to me. Very good, but Ed Reed is by far the number one.
All right, now moving on to linebackers. Don't know because I know you kind of flip around. Sometimes you'll use for the safety, sometimes it's the linebackers, but obviously linebackers kind of double as pass rushers sometimes. So we got Fred Warner, Ray Lewis, Luke Kuechly, Chuck Howley, and T.J. Watt.
I like T.J. Watt a lot. Number one is Ray Lewis for me. Fred Warner, he was all right. So for me, out of that list, it's T.J. Watt and Ray Lewis. But Ray Lewis as number one.
All right, then last but not least, we have the tight ends coming up. We have Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Brock Bowers, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Schultz, and Vernon Davis.
Vernon Davis, he was good. Schultz, I don't remember how I did with him. Travis Kelsey was pretty darn good. Pitts was probably the best, so honestly, he was so fast, and he was probably my favorite to use as a tight end. And then number two probably was Travis Kelsey. I actually did well, I can't add a person, never mind. But out of that list, that's how it goes.
All right, and by chance, have you used the Brock Bowers card or no?
No.
No. Okay, got you. All right, so that is the tier list for this week. Definitely excited to be bringing more Madden related. Maybe I'll throw a curveball in their new tier list that isn't Madden related. So we do have that going on. Um, so so I guess to kind of bring this full circle, I know Shane, your memory is kind of terrible. No offense, you're old and you don't really sleep that well from what I'm hearing, but if you could tap into your memory and if it doesn't fail you, who are some MUT cards just like the history of you playing MUT that really stick out for you, just like of all time?
You know, that is true. I am tired. No, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, like, cause I'm a running back, so those two really stick out to me. Uh, oh man, I think it was Jim Thorpe. Jim Thorpe was a running back, I believe. I believe he was there, and he was really, really good. Or I'm picturing somebody, so yeah, my memory might be failing me, but he was tiny, but super, super fast. So I loved using those running backs. Other than that, honestly, like QB wise, maybe I don't have honestly probably Michael Vick, but see Michael Vick is not my favorite because he's a lefty. But I mean those really the running backs stick out the most to me, and the reason why Trey is because I'm a ground and pound type of guy. So those three stick out to me. I really liked those cards for sure.
All right, so you heard it here first. Shane, if you've never seen him live, you should because he's been pretty consistent with his lives, but he is a man that likes to pound the rock. He likes to tote the rock. He should move under Patrick's house because he likes to do a lot of stuff with the rock. So that's what you should expect when you do watch Shanghai 11 on YouTube. Sounds like a pretty boring, way to play Madden, but Shane, he might be old, but he still has the personality to where you can watch him and be entertained. So I guess Shane, before we get out of here, I had to bring this up, but you might not even remember this. You might not even remember last week when you said some wild wild stuff about butt plugs in the last episode. So
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, I
I couldn't
do.
sign off without letting you explain yourself about that one. You know.
Okay, so okay, first of all, I don't just run the ball. I like to run the ball a lot, but I've been getting a little bit dotty lately. You know what I mean? So it's just not ground and pound. It might be ground and pound with a little bit of a pass here and there. And I have no idea why I said butt plug Trey. I was just rambling on, and slipped out my mind. I've never used a butt plug, so pause on that. But no. Also, Trey, your birthday is in 2 days. Have a great birthday. Hopefully, you win some money at the casino. You eat some good food. But yeah, man. So when we will be back March 29. So you guys will be back March 29th. Trey, do you have anything to add?
I did. I actually, and I appreciate the birthday. The one thing, like, and I have to. I'm just calling you out today, so I got to call out that Shane should probably leave America because he hates cheesecake. I told him that cheesecake is actually my favorite cake, and he told me that he does not like cheesecake. Actually, if I remember correctly, he said he hates cheesecake. So that is enough for me to tell Shane to leave the United States of America if he does not like cheesecake. So, other than that, that's it. Be sure to, watch Shane Got You 11 because he's always on YouTube. Check me out on YouTube. I have a new series being released every Thursday. I'm pretty consistent with that. And actually, yesterday I uploaded 2 videos, so make sure to go check those out. We will be back not next Friday, but the Friday after. So, not the first Friday movie, but the next Friday movie, which is probably the best one, in my opinion. So, I'll throw it back over to Shane to close us out.
Okay, Trey, it is true. I hate cheesecake. Like, I hate cheesecake with a passion. So I'm sorry that you love cheesecake. So, bro, hopefully Sunday on your birthday, eat some good cheesecake, but don't send me any up my way, all right? It will be going to the trash. But no, so, anyways, we will see you guys March 29th. I appreciate being in here with Trey, always doing our podcast together. Yeah, definitely. I put Trey's YouTube link in the chat, so go check it out. He is doing a lot of big things. He's doing episodes, pretty cool, pretty entertaining, pretty outside the box, in my opinion, which is really cool. So, anyways, so when we see Trey again in the podcast, he will be 42 years old. So, shout out to the 42-year old. But anyways, no, I'm just joking. He's still a young buck. So for Trey, I'm Shane. This was the West Coast Podcast. I will see you guys next time, March 29th. Trey and I will be here. So show up to show up March 29th at 10:30 p.m. Pacific time. We will talk to you guys later.